Kim Hammond, the Director of Paranormal Investigations at the Point Lookout Lighthouse in St. Mary's County, who will be sharing firsthand accounts of her ghost hunts, one of which occurred at our very own Leonardtown campus last year. Before we get started, just a few housekeeping items. We ask that you keep your microphones muted during the program unless you are speaking. There will be a question and answer session at the end of the first half of the program. You will be able to unmute to ask questions, or you can submit them through the chat function. During the second half of the program, you will be able to share an experience or story if you would like, again by unmuting or through the chat. As always, please be courteous and respectful to our presenters and your fellow students and attendees. We are all here to have a fun time, and we ask that you please remember that when asking a question or sharing a story. Okay, without further ado, let the spookiness begin.
Thank you, Melissa. I'm very excited to introduce to you Kim Rudd, the Director of Paranormal Investigations at the Point Lookout Lighthouse in St. Mary's County. Kim and her team investigated Building A of the college's Leonardtown campus. For those of you who don't know, Building A was formerly a Catholic school, St. Mary's Academy, run by the Sisters of Charity of Nazareth. It is rumored to be haunted by the ghosts of the nuns. There have been reports of strange occurrences and weird things in the auditorium in Building A over the years. So last year, the Leonardtown Student Association brought in Kim to investigate. By trade, Kim is an information technology computer specialist for the federal government, but in her spare time, she is a paranormal investigator. She has a great passion for the paranormal and things unknown. Kim has participated in very large group investigations, such as Waverly Hills Sanatorium, Eastern State Penitentiary, Moundsville, West Virginia State Penitentiary, and has organized and conducted several exclusive investigations at historic landmarks and private homes. Additionally, she continues to volunteer with the Point Lookout Lighthouse Preservation Society. Please welcome Kim Hammonds.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. I've had my share of experiences, and I look forward to sharing some of those with you guys. First, definitely want to cover our investigation at the college last year. I was really grateful to come in and have the time to do it. Unfortunately, there was some environmental issues that prevented us from getting any really good evidence. The heating and air was on, and it was causing a lot of wind sounds in the building, and it really overruled any of our recordings that we received. Other than a few personal experiences that we had, we didn't really get any good evidence from the recordings. My husband was over in the pool area, and he heard some voices before we came over. He thought it was us, but it wasn't us. By the time we got over to that building, he was sound asleep, which was kind of funny. But when we went back through our recordings, all we got was a lot of loud wind noises, which pretty much overtook any of our voices. We did quite a few EVP sessions with the group, but unfortunately, none of those really panned out to where I could hear anything unknown other than what we were physically talking ourselves. So, but the investigation was interesting. We just didn't get a lot of evidence with it, unfortunately. I have had some other experiences at some other investigations that we have done. Waverly Hills, as you've mentioned, we did a very large investigation there. I went with a group of 20 people. We stayed the entire night. We went in at like 8 o'clock at night, and we came out at 7 a.m. in the morning. The night was definitely interesting. We went into several areas. We went into the area that they called the death chute, where they would bring bodies in and out of the sanitarium. And in there, you could definitely feel the heaviness in the air. There will say there were some environmental issues in that structure too, because there was a lot of bats flying around. So you really had to fight visually what you were seeing against what you were there to investigate. So, some of the bats flying past your head were very unnervy at times, but you had to sit through it. And we did end up capturing some weird creaking noises, which we didn't hear at the time. I don't know per se that we got any voices, but we did get like things slamming, which we did not hear at the time, other than the bats flying by. But you can definitely tell bats are different than something dropping or something falling metallic wise. The structure itself is pretty massive. We went up to the top floor where one of the nurses that was assigned to the children's area apparently became very depressed from all the sick children coming in and out and dying and having to deal with all this pain and suffering, committed suicide in one of the elevator shafts. So that area was pretty interesting. We spent some time doing some EVP sessions there and actually got sounds of motor, like a motor kicking on, like an elevator possibly running, which was pretty hair raising at the time. Waverly is definitely interesting. They're doing their investigations to restore the building, and I believe to eventually turn it into a B&B, which would be a pretty cool place to stay. My other big investigations were at Eastern State Penitentiary, which was in Philadelphia. It's a prison that Al Capone stayed in with a few other famous inmates. The prison is pretty big. They allow people to come in and do nighttime investigations for fundraisers, like a lot of these big places do. I've had many experiences there. Ghost Hunters did an episode where they caught a caped figure running down the hallway. It's pretty famous. They've repeated that a lot. In that particular corridor, we did capture a figure on thermal imaging, not necessarily a regular camera, but on thermal imaging that catches heat senses of something coming out of a cell and heading right towards us and then ducking into another cell, which was pretty unnerving at the time. At the time we were there, it actually scared me because I had never really experienced anything that was coming towards us with that much energy. Excuse me. We unfortunately, I only had a still thermal imaging camera, so I only have stills of that. If anybody is interested in seeing any pictures or physical evidence, I would be happy to share them email, and I can share my email address after this. Excuse me. Eastern State is a great place to visit. I have also captured many EVPs, never had anybody identify themselves, but have had, voices, repeating like, I don't know, random things like, I'm here, or what are you doing here, or hello back. We've had like asking, like knocks, we'll do like a knock, 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 and then turn around and you'll hear it on a repeat on the recorder, a knock, knock, knock. So something knocking back, even though we can't physically hear it, it's coming through on a recorder, something that you can hear later, which is EVP, which equals to electronic voice phenomenon, which is when you record things that you don't physically hear with your ears, but you hear it when you play it back on a recording. EVPs are very common in haunted locations or even areas with a lot of history. There's multiple types of hauntings. Some hauntings can be residual, or they believe it's a period in time that keeps repeating, like maybe an anniversary of somebody's death or an anniversary of somebody's birthday, or an anniversary of an event like things that happen in Gettysburg. It could be just something that's replaying. So they consider that a residual haunting, something that you can't get to repeat or respond to you. You also have intelligent hauntings, like I've gotten at Eastern State or at Waverly on EVPs, where you ask a question and you get, a voice, answer your question or respond to you or give you some sort of response that makes you think that they're aware that you're there. Um, um, that's very common in like the Lighthouse, for instance, at Point Lookout. The most common haunting at the Lighthouse is EVPs. I have probably hundreds of EVPs that I've gotten there. I also have experienced some physical experiences. A good ghost story there is we do paranormal nights for fundraisers. And when it was one fall, and I was rushing down to open up the house for a paranormal night that we had that evening, and the sun was setting, and it was a beautiful night. The sky was orange and yellow and pink. It was just absolutely beautiful. So I went up into the cupola with my camera. I'm snapping pictures as the sun's setting. And as I'm coming down the cupola stairs, I hear a voice call out, a man's voice call out, "Are you ready or what?" It was me and another female there. We were the only two people there. I looked at her like, "Did you hear that?" And we're both thinking to ourselves like, "Oh my God, did you hear that?" And at the same time, we looked down at the floor and there was wet boot prints on the ground, on the steps. Reached down and you could physically feel that they were wet. Now, keep in mind, it was perfectly dry outside. I rushed up to the cupola to take pictures of the beautiful sunset, not expecting to see, water or boot prints on the floor that weren't there a few minutes ago when I first entered the cupola. It was very, very interesting. The crazy part about this story is I did get the recording of the EVP of the gentleman asking me if I was ready or not. But I had a camera in my hand and I never took a picture of the wet boot prints. I was so shocked by it, I totally forgot. We talked back and forth about what was going on, and a few minutes later, the boot prints were gone. They disappeared as fast as they appeared. It was pretty amazing. That's probably my most physical experience at the Lighthouse, because it was something that we both experienced at the same time, and it didn't necessarily target me. I've also had my name called where other people have heard my name called. I've been volunteering down there since 2006. So I've spent a lot of time in there by myself. I've spent a lot of time in there, setting up for events. And when I first started going down there, I would take flowers. Every time I would go down, I would take a single flower and I would put it in the windowsill. So I don't know if maybe that I triggered events to occur because of that. But ever since I started doing that, I would hear my name called, or when we were going to close up, like windows or doors that I would necessarily shut, I would turn around and find open later, like they were trying to catch my attention. Phantom footsteps are very common in the structure too. If you sit there very quietly, you can hear like somebody either entering or exiting the cupola, which made me think that it was related to the gentleman that called out and left the wet boot prints at the time. The lighthouse was originally built in 1830, and it's gone through several remodels, which it's currently going through another remodel right now. So I'm pretty excited to get back in. Um, we have had a lot of experiences there, but not just there in the park itself. It's has a prison camp. Within the prison camp, they have wooden structures that they've rebuilt the old fort. And within that fort and structure, I've also captured phantom smells, like of a campfire that was going, and also like baking bread or pies cooking, which is pretty interesting considering it was in the middle of the daytime and there were no campfires and there were nobody baking bread or pies. I also believe that paranormal activity happens anytime, day or night. The picture behind me is Sachs Bridge in Gettysburg. Gettysburg, as you guys know, has been involved in historic, the Civil War, but historically they've had a lot of events there. They've had a lot of activity. They do reenactments, but they also experience paranormal activity there. There's a lot of bed and breakfast that you can stay at. We've stayed at a few where I have captured a few EVPs. Woke up one evening in one of the B&Bs that had an electric fireplace. We turned it off before we went to bed, woke up in the middle of the night and the electric fireplace was going again. Didn't capture any EVPs, but we heard the switch come on. It was a switch on the wall, which was pretty interesting. Excuse me. Have also recently spent some time in West Virginia State Penitentiary, Moundsville. It's a pretty interesting place. Moundsville in general is known for the Indian mounds. They have a pretty big one in town. The mound is known to be haunted. I didn't experience anything there myself, but right across the street is West Virginia State Penitentiary. They have an electric chair that they actually use there. It's in the lobby. I have experienced things at Eastern State also. I have experienced, we were sitting in the area that they house the death row inmates, and we were sitting there doing an EVP session, and somebody touched me. They touched me on the shoulder. Nobody else in our circle was touched. It was quite an interesting event. We all got up and moved around, went out into the church area, sat back down and started doing another EVP session. And one of the young men that was with us had a box thrown at him. The box hit him in the back of the head. It was a small empty box, thank goodness. But during the EVP session, he got a gentleman asking him to please leave. We never heard this during the EVP session, but it scared him enough that he's a little nervous about doing another ghost investigation. So I'm hoping that I can actually talk him into going back. I'd like to open the floor up for questions if possible.
Sure. So thank you for sharing those experiences, Kim. Some were very hair-raising. We do have a couple questions in the chat, and if there's somebody that would like to ask a question, if you just put that in the chat, we can go ahead and unmute you or ask you to unmute. So The first question is actually mine. Were most of the spirits that you have had experience with, were most of them friendly or non-malicious, or are some not friendly?
I would say all of them except for in Philadelphia at Eastern State Penitentiary. That was probably the only time where I was really scared. I think for me, it takes a lot for me to become scared because I feel like if it's a spirit, it can't hurt me unless it turns very physical. But there, I felt like a big block of energy rushing at me. So I actually got kind of nervous there.
Hmm.
Kim, we have another question from Michelle. She wants to know, do any of them follow you home?
I have never had anything follow me home.
Good.
Yeah. I have actually set up recorders in my bedroom and, like different areas of my house, and I have never caught anything.
Good.
Yeah. I know some other people have experienced that, but I have not. I have actually worked with a few other people that believe objects can be possessed, like dolls or, different items that people possessed, like trinkets or a vase. I have never experienced a haunted object or had anything follow me home.
That's a relief. That's
It is.
terrifying. I'm scared just listening. Does anybody else have any questions? Does anybody want to unmute themselves to ask him a question? Anybody?
I do. So can you see any of these, Kim? Have you ever seen that? Like, I don't know.
That's a good question. And I guess I should have jumped into some of that. Now I have used multiple equipment. When you're ghost hunting, you want to try to take an approach to where you can capture something, and say that I really got something. So on the most part, I have not seen very much other than the phantom, the boot prints. I definitely saw that. We did an investigation in Bowie at a private residence. This woman made claims that something was waking her up in the middle of the night, same time every night. So we did an investigation at her house during that time. Excuse me, my allergies are kicking up. And I laid on her side of the bed during that time of the night. And sure enough, I didn't see a thing, by the way. But when we went back to review the evidence, we recorded in infrared. Infrared is a spectrum of light that we can't see ourselves, but it's kind of like black and white. When you see some of these shows, ghost hunting shows, they show it in black and white. That's most likely infrared. But in the infrared evidence that we got are hands waving like this right in front of my face. I never saw a thing. It happened like 4 times. And I would say that it was relatively close to my face, but never saw a thing. So in some ways, it makes me think that maybe, that type of paranormal activity happens in a spectrum that our eyes can't see, which is pretty interesting.
Just a follow-up to that is I did have a coworker from years ago from a previous job whose small child saw a spirit, and they lived in Fredericksburg and couldn't get cable connected to their house because there was some interference, and called in some folks. I don't know if they were like you or whatever. And when they questioned the child actually described a Confederate soldier, and upon doing some research found that their house was built on some type of grave site.
Oh, wow.
Have you, is that something that you believe in, that's true? Is that children are more sensitive to seeing things than adults are?
I was gonna ask the same question.
All right,
Yes,
good job.
Thank you.
Welcome.
I think the kids are more open-minded and maybe not so, thinking that that's not true or fighting that fact. I really do. I think in some means that kids are definitely more open-minded to it.
Yeah, I want
Absolutely.
to share my experience, but for me, I don't really see it, or I don't really see any. But my brother, when he was a kid, when he was little, he would point at something. He would be scared, honestly, and he's still scared right now. He's actually what, 24 years old now, and he's still scared of the dark. I think this has something to do when he was a kid. He kept seeing a lady in a black, or a lady in a black dress in our, it's either the living room or our or the dining room or the kitchen. So we just laugh at him all the time, but it's just it's terrifying, especially at night when he wakes up and say that there's something somewhere in the house, and we're like, no way. And yeah, I think that it's true that kids are, more sensitive
But
when it
does he
comes to
still
energy.
see it? Because I do believe that some people experience more than other people. I have a very dear friend, and I always joke with her and call her an EVP magnet because I don't care where we go, she always gets some incredible EVPs.
With him, I'm not sure now, but he's really still scared. But that was actually another house that is actually known growing up,
I
us
see.
growing up. It's actually a house that where we always feel different. Like that house feels different all the time. I mean, for me, I don't see it, so I'm cool with that. But for my brothers, my two younger brothers, they would have like dreams, bad dreams, that something is staring at them at night, and it. I think we just got used to it. Um, when we moved out, I don't think that it followed them. I never heard anything about it when we moved out that house.
Yeah, it definitely could have been the location. I definitely believe it's location. Like Point Lookout Lighthouse. I definitely think that there's some lighthouse keepers that are still there. I do. Absolutely. I think that there is an intelligent haunting and that they're aware of you when you're there. I do.
Do you think,
Same thing with the over there at the old prison camp at Point Lookout. Same thing there. I think it's an intelligent haunting.
do you think there's a lot of residual energy in the Gettysburg War area? A
I
lot of
do.
energy that's just left. Yeah.
I do. I think that that's a good place for that. The only the only real good tangible experience that I've had in Gettysburg is they have an orphanage, like where some of the locals residents that fought in the war died and their children were left, abandoned basically. They put them in these orphanage, and in the orphanage there's this basement area where they would house some of the kids, and there's some crazy stuff going on down there. It's pretty physical. They open that to paranormal investigations too, if anybody's interested. But other than that, I do think it's residual in Gettysburg. I do.
Kim, we have a question from Andrea. She wanted to know if you would ever live in a home that is considered haunted.
I think I would, as long as it wasn't in my bedroom. Really, I'm okay with it, except for in my bedroom. Like the story that I was telling you about in Bowie, Maryland. I felt funny in a way telling her, excuse me, because it validated her story. She actually researched it and found out that a little boy had drowned in the bathtub shortly after the home was built. So it was probably the little guy that passed away in the house. That would bother me.
Mhm.
It would. It would. Or maybe she just got used to it because it didn't seem to bother her as much as it bothered me, but I didn't live there either. So
It,
that's a
it,
good question.
is it true that realtors have to let you know if something's happening at that house, if it's haunted or if there's any type of crazy stuff that's happening in the house? I mean, they can't sell your house if there's some odd going on. Am I correct in saying that? I've heard that before, that the realtors have to let you know
They can't
At your
tell
house.
you if they don't know Tim. That's on the market.
Right. Do you live in a historic home?
That's true.
I've heard, well, I've heard of
That's
people,
true.
they bought a house and then they said that it was haunted, and then the realtor knew it was haunted, and I guess it's some disclosure they have to let them know if there's some ongoings in the house or some murder that's happened or something like that. I don't know if that's true or not.
I think if it's a legal thing, like a murder, they have to let you know. But as far as paranormal activity, there's no scientific proof behind that.
Oh,
And that's the deal there.
I think if it's a suicide as well, Tim, they have to let you know, like with a certain number of years.
Right. Right.
so if there's a poltergeist in the house, then you just got to deal with it, right? Is that what you're trying to tell me?
That's right.
Exactly.
Okay, I just want to make sure. That's right. Thank you.
Tim, I have two questions for you. Can you explain to people what the difference is between residual and intelligent spirit? And then also, do you sleep well at night? Do you sleep okay? And
I do.
okay, good.
I do. On the thing of sleep, though, and maybe this is a little off topic, but I will say when I was younger, I had reoccurring dreams. I had the same reoccurring dream for, I don't know, maybe 10 years. And I always thought that it was related to a past life, honestly. And I still kind of believe that, like something was holding on to me from a past life. Really, I do. So, in a way, I think that might be spirit related. But as far as hauntings, intelligent versus, residual, residual would be like Gettysburg is a good example, like the Battle of Gettysburg. Somebody dying very tragically, or maybe somebody witnessing a very tragic event, or a tragic event just happening, just replaying in time over and over again. Some people believe that EVPs, like your voice never goes away. Our voices travel for miles. Well, maybe, they travel in a little band up and down, wavelengths across planet Earth. And maybe after a while you catch back up to that, and that hits your ears again, and you're hearing that your voice again or that sound again. I mean, a lot of people believe that that's true. So as far as residual hauntings, sometimes, excuse me, this damp weather's getting to me. But sometimes, like, for instance, there was a bad shipwreck at the Lighthouse. And a few days later, this body of a soldier washed up Joseph Haney. The anniversary of his death, somebody captured an EVP of him identifying himself. It was the same day that he died. So it was almost like a point in time, replaying itself, a point in history replaying itself. And that was captured on a recording. A lot of events like that. Maybe the phantom footsteps that I've experienced in the Lighthouse were a point in time replaying over and over again. It's an interesting concept. Another time in the Lighthouse, we were doing an EVP session during the day. It was actually when I was teaching a class at the college. I brought the students down and we did a daytime investigation in the Lighthouse. And we were sitting in the south side bedroom, and all of a sudden we started hearing a phone ring. Keep in mind, there's no electricity at the Lighthouse at the time, no phone lines. Everybody had their cell phones shut off. And all of a sudden we started hearing a phone ringing, very faint. So it made me think that that was a residual haunting happening, because it kept ringing and ringing. And I said it out loud. Did you guys hear a phone ringing? And it kept ringing and ringing. And then finally it picked up, and you could hear a voice on the other end go, hello? We're like, oh shit, hello? Hello? But they never replied to us. It was bizarre. So I definitely think that that was a residual haunting replaying itself. As far as an intelligent haunting, I think that that's when, excuse me, when it's aware that you're there. A good thing for me at the Lighthouse doing events, if I can go in quietly and I can set up, or I can go in there and sit in a chair and start listening, I start hearing things happening. Like I start hearing people moving around. I start hearing people talking, chattering, doors shutting, like normal everyday life. But if I go in there and I start moving things around, setting up chairs, that all stops. Like they're fully aware that somebody else is there. Um, I've had my name called out, like I expressed to you. How did they know my name? Really? And I wasn't the only one that heard my name. Plain as day, it was like, hey, Kim. And we all turn around and there's nobody there at all. It's like, wow. So intelligent hauntings, I truly believe that they're aware of us. Some quantum scientists believe that it's time paralleling our time, which is an interesting concept. If you believe in quantum physics at all, they believe in the near future that they will prove that there is paranormal activity. Where now it's only speculation as far as science goes.
I have a question for you, Kim, again. I'm sorry. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the BuzzFeed's series of unsolved mysteries where they go out and find ghosts. And I'm not sure if you know about the voice box that they use. It's a tool they use. They call it voice
Yes.
box.
Yeah.
What do you think about that? Do you think it is actually, because it does creep me out when they hear something that's really, that you actually understand, and when they ask questions, it actually answers, like legit answers their question. So what do you think about that?
Well, there's two types of those devices. One is an obelisk, where it spits out random words, where it's quiet. The device is quiet most of the time, and then it'll just spew out words when it experiences it's radio waves, it's EMFs. Instead of EBVs, it's EMFs. EMFs are natural or energy waves that happen naturally and artificially. Obelisk works on the concept of man-made radio waves that go through the air, and it captures that, and it spews out words based on the amount of waves it receives in. Now, I don't know the complete science behind it, but I'm giving you the skinny of it. So I'm skeptical on those devices because you can download an app on your iPhone that does the same thing. So does your iPhone have the ability to pick up ghost? I mean, I don't know that that's a reality. I mean, it's definitely an interesting tool, and I don't want to smash it completely, but I'm skeptical unless I have other evidence. The other is a ghost box, where somebody will use like a excuse me, like a radio, and they've jammed it so it'll start jumping stations. I also use one of those sometimes, and I like it because sometimes you can get it to spew out names, or it sounds like it's giving you intelligent responses. I like to use those in conjunction with something else, but I do find them very interesting for sure.
That's exactly what they use, the one you're talking about, the one that jumps in the frequency, I don't know, the radio channels, and then it's just
Yeah.
spews out words, and it would actually call their names, that which is weird.
Yeah, I have gotten some results like that, like where I've gotten the same name repeated to me over and over and over again, which really makes you scratch your head. What's going on here? For sure. I definitely think that it could be manipulated by spirits. I do. I do. Same thing with the obelisk devices. They're pretty cool.
Yes, I have a question. I was wondering, I know someone had put the question out to you earlier about spirits attaching to you. Have you ever been fearful of that happening and bringing something home with you?
I don't know that I've been fearful of it. I've thought about it, but I've never had it happen to me. I don't do it necessarily do it alone. We do it safely. Um, we do it respectfully. I don't like provoking. I have been with some other groups that will do provoking and try to, get bad things to happen. That's not really something that I'm interested. My thing is I know something's happening and I want to experience it, and I want to experience it in a safe manner. So I try to keep everything as quiet, well, not quiet, but as peaceful as I can, I should say. So
When
no,
did
I've
you-
never.
I'm sorry. When did you develop a desire to pursue this?
I've had experiences since I was a child, and even growing up in my teens, I had experiences. So when I became an adult and I was approached by some other people that had the same interest, we kind of, got together and started doing it together. It's been a lot of fun. It has. I've learned a lot.
Now, I know you.
I used to hate history, but not so much anymore.
Yeah, you said you teach a course at the college, and you had taken a group down there for, a session or whatever. Now, what do you teach at the college that would, allow somebody to participate in something like this?
Well, for a good 5 or 6 years, the college ran a ghost hunting class. They haven't had it in the last 3 years.
Oh,
Well, then we need to step that up and do that.
yeah.
It
Well,
was fun. I was doing a daytime and nighttime investigation at the Lighthouse. But I wouldn't be able to fulfill that at the Lighthouse currently because it's undergoing construction. It's almost done. I'm pretty excited about it.
I'm sure Erica will sign up first.
I know a lot of people that would sign up for that.
yeah, I
It
think
was fun. We had a blast. We did. We did. And as far as the class went, I just covered like the logical way to approach ghost hunting. I know a lot of people go in as true believers, and there's really nothing wrong with going in as a true believer. But me personally, I like to approach an investigation as a skeptic. I want to go in and prove to me that this place is haunted. Show me something or give me something. I don't want to question, was that, did something fall paranormal wise, or did one of my team members trip over something and we're claiming that's paranormal? I'd like to really know I got something. So with the class, I would take a very logical approach and then, show that paranormal activity happens anytime, day, night. It doesn't really matter when it happens. It happens.
If the college would decide to offer that again, would you like to teach that or lead that?
Absolutely. Yeah, it was fun.
How do we petition to do that?
we can ask. I'm assuming, was it through continuing education?
It was.
Yeah. When will the lighthouse be completed, the renovation?
We're hoping, it was supposed to be this year,
Okay.
but due to the virus, it
Okay.
kind of put things behind. So the last time I was down there, it looked amazing. So it looks very close to me. I'm hoping this spring.
Okay.
Fingers crossed.
Well, we can, Deborah, we can certainly reach out to the continuing education folks and say that, we had people express an interest in this class, and would that be run again?
Okay. Yeah, I've probably got about 5 people that would sign up for that. All former CSM people.
Nice. Well, I have your email address from the registration, so I can contact you that way.
Yeah, that's how the college and I communicated. Yeah,
Nice.
with the class. Yeah, absolutely. I'm trying to remember the name. They coordinated it through the La Plata campus, but I guess that's the main headquarters for the college.
Yeah, that's where continuing education was. The main office was housed, so that would make sense. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Does anybody else have any questions for Kim? Going once, going twice. All right. Well, thank you very much to Kim Hammonds for taking the time to be with us this evening and sharing your ghost hunting stories and experiences with the paranormal. You've certainly given us much to consider about the unknown, not to mention some chills and goosebumps. And if attendees have any additional questions or would like to get more information from you, is there a way they can get in touch with you, or do you, is it through the Lighthouse, or?
Can I share my email through the chat? I guess everybody will see it.
Absolutely. You can put it right in the chat and that'd be great.
Yeah. And I have a couple YouTube videos, or I have one YouTube video of the hands waving if anybody wants to see that.
Oh yeah, you can share that link too. Oh gosh.
Well, if you email me, I will email it to you.
Okay. I'll have to wait for the daytime to watch that one, I think. That's me. I don't know.
It was pretty unnerving when we went back to watch it. I was like, holy cow, I didn't see that at all. So I was just, that's why I say not in my bedroom and not in my bed.
I don't know if we can actually play it and share it with everyone.
Yeah,
Do we have time for that?
We could. Do you want to share the link and I can try to share the screen, Kim, if you have that?
Yeah, bear with me and I'll find it.
Yeah, and
I'll post it.
I don't know that I need to see that tonight. Tell you the truth.
No, okay. People might not. Yeah, I mean, some people might be reluctant to watch that if they're
okay.
We'll go ahead and be mindful of that and let people watch it on their own.
Okay.
But
Gotcha.
Thank you for sharing. If you can definitely share that with us, Kim, that'd be great for those that are interested in seeing that.
Yeah, I will do that before I disconnect here.
Okay, wonderful.
All right, so our next portion of tonight's event is going to be a section on local lore and ghost stories from our area. So we are going to start off with a story from Charles County, and Michelle is going to go ahead and read this story for us.
I am. So are any of you guys familiar with the Blue Dog Saloon? You guys know where that is? Just outside of La Plata? Okay. So I'm going to read you a little story about it and you'll know how it got its name. So it's not surprising that Charles County's Blue Dog legend has been around for more than 2 centuries. It is said to be the oldest ghost story in America, and it's a good one. In the 18th century, when soldier Charles Thomas Sims and a blue tick hound stepped into one of the many taverns said to inhabit the colonial town, Sims had way too much to drink that night, and he started bragging about the amount of gold he had, along with a deed to property in the area. Henry Hanos of Port Tobacco and his friends heard Sims say all of this and followed him out of the tavern that night. Sims made it to Rose Hill Manor. You guys know where that is. It's over by McDonough, right? Rose Hill Manor before being confronted by Hanos and his friends. They demanded his money and the deed to the land. Sims was killed and in the confrontation along with his blue tick hound. Legend has it the dog died while trying to defend his master. Hanos stole the loot and buried it, along with the deed, under a tree that grew somewhere along Rose Hill Road. Hanos later returned to retrieve the treasure, but he was confronted by the ghost of a huge blue tick hound. Shortly after this encounter, Hanos became sick and fell fatally ill. Reports of a blue tick dog's ghost began surfacing in the years that followed the soldier's death. The last known recorded incident of someone encountering the ghostly beast occurred in 1971 when the howl of the blue dog was heard. Several television crews who have sought evidence of the blue dog legend have filmed at Rose Hill the past 2 years. On February 8th, when the howl of the Old Faithful hound has said to be most prominent. Woo! Think about that when you go to the Blue Dog.
Thank you so much, Michelle. So we have another story tonight that comes from St. Mary's County, and Erica is going to go ahead and read this story for us.
All right, so this is the story of Maul Dyer. Maul Dyer died horribly in the early years of Maryland's history, freezing to death in a brutal winter storm. She was no more a witch than those unfortunate souls crushed to death by rocks in the New Salem witch hunt insanity of the early 17th century in Massachusetts. But fear is a terrible thing. A tragic victim of superstition, ignorance, and vigilante justice, the tale of Maul Dyer is one of Southern Maryland's most enduring legends. Just south of Leonardtown, a stream meanders under Route 5. Hills to its west and modern homes scattered around it. This was the colonial home of Maul Dyer. The story first came to light in the late 18th century in the St. Mary's County Beacon. Maul Dyer was a destitute woman living in a ramshackle home. She was shunned by the locals, and she struck fear into all who encountered her. She roamed the land during the summer months, gathering plants from the woodland and begging a pittance from fearful neighbors who dared not deny her requests. A treacherous winter soon followed those summer months, and a bitter winter storm soon came. It was so cold that cattle and sheep froze in the field. They believed it was Maul Dyer cursing them, and they had to do something about it. After much deliberation, they lit torches, surrounded her shack, and set fire to her humble dwelling. The terrified woman fled to the surrounding woodland, and the townspeople returned to their homes, satisfied they had ridden themselves of the person responsible for their troubles. Nothing more was heard from her for several days until a young boy, searching for lost cattle in the snow, came across her frozen body kneeling on a rock, one arm stretched to the heavens as if cursing her tormentors. Families living in the area reported that fields planted in the years after her passing remained uncharacteristically barren. Legends insist that she can still be seen wandering the woods on the coolest night of the year. The imprint of her hand and knees were said to be embedded in the stone. The rock has been relocated to the old colonial jail in front of the courthouse in Leonardtown.
Thank you so much, Erica. I've actually gone to the old jail and seen that rock, and it's pretty terrifying. If you get a chance, definitely go check it out. So our next story is coming from Charles County again, and Michelle Rubel will be reading this story for us.
That's me. Okay, you guys like my spooky, scary face? Anyway. All right, so this one is a short one, and it's about Dr. Mudd's house. So this story was highlighted in the Southern Living article. The story focuses on one of the rope beds in the front upstairs bedroom called the booth room, due to its most infamous occupants. Legend holds that despite how tightly tucked the sheets and coverlet are in the evening, a human impression can clearly be seen in the bed by morning. While some see this as a natural settling of an old bed, others see it as the spirit of John Wilkes Booth returning to the room he occupied just hours after committing his horrific crime. Regardless of what you believe, the story has been shared in several publications through the years and is one that many visitors know and about which they inquire during tours. Yee!
Thank you so much, Michelle. So our final story is from Calvert County, and I don't know if anyone has heard of the Gray Lady, but I'm going to read you the story of hers. Perhaps the most well-known Calvert County mansion with a roaming spirit is Maidstone. This stately colonial-era home, located near Owings, was built in the late 1600s. Numerous additions and improvements were added to the structure, but some think the most important extra feature is the mansion's resident phantom, the Gray Lady. Samuel Chu, the original owner of the home and its surrounding 2,000 acres, was a prominent landowner. His daughter, Anne Chu, is believed to be the estate's resident spirit. According to a story written in 1960 by Earl Hicks, who owned Maidstone at the time, Anne loved the home, and the home loved her. Her grand wedding was held on the property. After the ceremony, she climbed aboard her husband's horse, wrapped her arms around his body, and waved farewell to the home and the large group of family and friends in attendance. As the happily married bride and groom rode past the front gate of Maidstone, Anne became silent and did not speak during the ride to the just wed couple's new home. However, the groom became concerned when his bride, whose arms still encircled his waist, would not respond to his instructions to dismount from the horse. Turning and holding on to her slumping, silent body, the young man was shocked to discover that Anne was dead. In Hicks's story, A Halloween Tale for Little Girls of Maidstone, the writer suggested that the structure loved the young woman as much as Anne had loved the home, and the possessive building refused to let the spirit leave the property. At Maidstone's gate, the powerful essence of the imposing historic structure claimed Anne's soul, which remains on the estate's grounds and occasionally makes its presence known. Most witnesses over the centuries have cited Anne roaming the gardens and standing on the lawn near the main house. On one occasion, a guest in the building claimed the mysterious mistress pushed him off of the parlor couch. But that was a rare, unexplained incident, and the only one where the invisible phantom came in direct contact with a mortal. The Gray Lady's nickname is associated with several reports that describe the spirit as wearing a long gray gown and matching veil, which establishes a connection with Hicks's story of Anne's sudden death and her attire on her wedding day. So I know that a lot of us know a lot of these stories and have heard these stories. And I'm sure there are many, many more out there that we have not covered. But we are going to move into our next section of tonight's event. And I'm going to invite our attendees to share their own experiences with the paranormal or any ghost stories that you would like to share. And I'm actually going to kick off this segment by talking about an experience that I had during a haunted ghost tour of the old Charleston jail in South Carolina. And we went on this ghost tour. There's no electricity in the building. There's no HVAC. The building was built in 1802 and served as a prison until 1939. Just want to give you a little backstory as to one of the most infamous prisoners that was held at this prison. Her name was Lavinia Fisher, and she was credited as the first female serial killer in the United States. Now, she may or may not have been the first serial killer, but she is the first person given the title in the US as a woman. Lavinia invited traveling businessmen to her hotel and would inquire about how much money they had. Once she knew how much money they had on their person, she would poison them with spiked tea after dinner. Her husband, John, would then murder them and then take their money and dispose of the body and the belongings. And they did this over and over and over again until they were finally caught. Both were held in the jail and sentenced to hang for their crimes. And on their execution day, John pled for forgiveness, but his wife did the complete opposite. And awaiting her hanging, her last words before they hung her, she said, "If you have a message you want to send to hell, give it to me, and I'll carry it." So we heard this story inside the prison. We're doing this haunted ghost tour. There are no lights. We're standing in this room, and the tour guide is telling us things that had happened in the prison, and started to feel nauseous. Started to feel really sick, really lightheaded. It progressively got worse and worse the longer we stood in this room. And the moment that we stepped out of this room, I was completely fine. We found out that that was actually where Lavinia Fisher was held prior to her hanging. So that definitely creeped me out. That's not my only experience, but that is the scariest experience that I've ever had. And I would love for any of our students or staff members here tonight to share any stories or experiences that you may have had with the paranormal. So if you would like to tell us, you may unmute and tell us, or you may put it in the chat, whichever you're more comfortable with.
Oh, come on, you got to tell us. I know Andrea doesn't have one because she and I are equally scared and we run before anything happens.
That's
Deborah,
right, Michelle.
You have a story? It seems like you're interested in the paranormal. Maybe have you had an experience? Deborah Gilroy?
I don't know that I've had an experience.
Okay.
I know sometimes when, I think we've all felt like we'll go someplace or do something or have a conversation and think, boy, I've been here before. I've said this, and you kind of look around. And I wonder if that isn't that parallel time continuum or something. I find that so fascinating if you think about that and, relative to what goes on in one place, and they may be looking at us. And it just kind of, to me, that's a fascinating aspect of it all.
Tim, do you have any scary stories that you were told as a kid that scared you?
Oh, you're muted, Tim.
You're muted.
Well, I do have one. I mean, and this is when I was a kid in Akron, Ohio. I'll never forget, how you get up in the morning to go watch cartoons. You get up in the morning before everybody to watch cartoons. I would do that every Saturday morning. And so I'll never forget that one morning I woke up, it was Saturday morning, I woke up, and I'm sitting there waiting for my dad to say, listen, you can turn the TV on or whatever. Mom and dad turn the TV on. So I'm sitting there patiently, and I hear this old car pull up in the driveway. So I'm thinking about it. It didn't sound like a regular car. It felt like it was an old Model T car that just like put it up in the driveway. Then I hear like a door slam, and for a long pause, something knocks on the door. It was like something knocked on the door. And so my dad got up. He goes up and looks outside. He sees nothing. He goes back to bed, and then it seemed like a short minute, like something was walking back to the car, slammed the door, and it drove off. That was the weirdest thing I ever had when I was a little kid. I was just like, wow, it was crazy. It's like it was like something, I don't know if it was residual or something like that, but I knew it was a ghost knock. So I didn't see anybody at the door. It was like very, like that. You know what I mean? It's like, you hear it. And I was like, wait a minute. And nothing was there at the door. So that was weird. Weird experience.
Yeah, that's really creepy, Tim.
Yeah. I never, my dad, he said he remembers it, but he said there was nobody at the door at the time period. But I do remember he was talking to the barber one time. They were talking about, the barber asked him, have you ever had any ghost knocks? My dad said, yeah, a couple of times. I guess ghost knocks just happen, they were like frequently, but there's like ghost knocks.
Wow.
Not for me.
Maybe they were hoping that y'all would invite them into your house or something. It's kind of like supposed to be like vampires or something. You have to invite them in.
Yeah, right. No.
No way, right?
Dude.
All right, so we have a comment in the chat from Madeline, and yes, this totally counts. But she remembers when she was younger, her dad scared her so badly with a Curious George light-up doll, and he put a flashlight underneath of it and lit it up, and it really scared her.
That's wrong.
She said it was super late at night, and she heard a really high-pitched sound, and she asked where her dad was. She was just really scared.
I have one. It's not scary, but it's just kind of, I don't know, it's kind of interesting because I actually experienced it. I was at a friend's house, and I don't know what it is with Virginia, but we were right outside of Fredericksburg, and she claimed that there was, her daughters were younger than my children, and they have seen a little girl with blonde hair and long pajamas, kind of like, if you think about Peter Pan, like Wendy had the long dress pajamas on, flowing. What? Oh, that is not cute. Put that thing away. No. Anyway, the kids had seen this little girl, and so my friend did some research and found that a little girl had died previously in the house that they lived in, and blah blah blah. Well, anyway, her two little girls had befriended this spirit, and I forget her name. It was an interesting name, maybe Cynthia or something, the spirit name. And we were over there, and the kids were all playing with toys, and my son had this toy that he really loved, and he couldn't find it. And we combed that area looking for that toy. And her little girl said, whoever the ghost was, we made up the name Cynthia, said, Cynthia, stop playing around. Brock has to go home, so show the toy. Where is the toy? And I kid you not, I turned around, it was sitting on the table behind me, and it was not there before. I'm telling you, it wasn't there.
Yeah, that's scary.
That is scary.
Yeah, so I was like, get in the car, we're out.
Oh my goodness, Michelle, that's terrifying.
Yeah, but the kids talked to her like they were all good friends, you know?
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
Michelle was like, this may not be scary.
Could they see her, Michelle? Could they see her?
Not all the time. Not all the time, but they knew when she was around. And one of the little girls had toys that were up in the top part of her closet that she couldn't reach, that were down on her bed, and she was playing with it. The parent took them down so she could play with them. And when the parent went upstairs to help her clean up, they were back in the upper part of her closet that she can't reach. So Cynthia was helping her put toys away. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. I got
All
chills.
right, that's mine. Yeah.
Oh my goodness, we have a story from Chris. When I was in my 20s, my friend was having experiences in her apartment where she would see legs reflected in a VCR near the floor. Or her mom woke up from a nap and saw a fisherman. And their pets would watch something in the corner. A ball appeared in the center of a room one day. I decided to bring over a Ouija board, and we found out that a fisherman used to live in the area, and he was waiting for his wife, who was taken away by water. Maybe she drowned. He had a daughter that he killed because he didn't want to leave her alone if he killed himself. On the Ouija board, we called his wife, and all of a sudden he spelled, I found her, and they never saw anything weird again. Chris, that's creepy.
I got chills twice. Michelle and from Chris. Thank you. Nice.
I'm not sleeping tonight now,
I had
Christopher.
chills on chills, Tim. This is not good. This is not good.
That's creepy.
Y'all are freaking me out.
Did you
Yeah,
sleep
that
that
was-
night, Chris, after that? That's
Hey,
keep
Chris.
you up at night. Woo.
Chris, don't play with that Ouija board. I
He
ran
said-
out of a party on a Ouija board. I'm not, no.
He
Mm-mm.
said he's had very strange experiences with a Ouija board.
I've
but
had
not
2,
since
I'm
his
not doing it
20s.
again. No, I don't care, Chris.
He said he's 55.
I'm with you, Chris. It's been a long time. Mm-mm. Come on, friends. Are you guys too young to have an experience?
Young, but I do these things on purpose to my sister sometimes.
Caitlin, what do you
that's just
do?
wrong.
So, I can probably go find it in the basement, but there's this doll. It's a Christmas decoration, and it's a little girl with a red Christmas dress on, like the ones your parents would put you in when you were a kid, like the little belt ones. And she held a candle, and she would turn back and forth when you plugged her in. So, I don't know how long ago this started, maybe a few years ago. Around Halloween time, I would go find it. And every year, I would put it in my sister's closet. So every time she opened the closet, she saw it. And it just became a thing. And I don't know where it is now. But it was kind of, I guess when I was younger, it was kind of creepy because once they found it, they would move it. And I wouldn't expect to see it somewhere else, you know.
Maybe it's in your closet now.
It's not. Definitely is not. I would.
Okay.
So you're the one that started Elf on a Shelf.
That's kind of funny. I think that's pretty funny though.
But,
I'm sorry, like it's creative.
well, it's like the doll is not meant for Christmas. Like it's a Christmas decoration, but her hair, like I would play with her, like mess her hair up and put her hair in her face, like that Mama movie. I think that's actually when it started, when Mama came out. And you know how like the lady would put her hair in front of her face and like run around like a dog or something. Yeah,
No,
that's
porcelain dolls really creep me out.
definitely.
Like the
Those
tiny,
two.
they think they're cute, and I'm like, no, they're not.
But I'm pretty sure there's ghosts in my house too. I don't have any proof. But when I was younger, I'm pretty sure there was. They still are, probably.
Caitlin, what happened to make you think that?
To make me torture my sisters? No, I mean, I just thought it would be funny because, well, okay, so they used to do, I live across the street from a barn, and my neighborhood would always do a haunted barn for Halloween. And they stopped doing it, so my sisters would make haunted rooms. So they'd like, they're weird. And they would like have like a little pathway, like you'd have to walk through, and then they have some Halloween decoration, and then one would be hidden in the closet and jump out at you. And I don't know. That's just, you know how like girls play kitchen and dolls? It's kind of like that, so they can like be creative, I guess. I don't
No
know.
overnight trips with Caitlin. No.
Oh no. Okay, this isn't scary, but one time I came home from work and my sister, the youngest one, not Kelsey, not the one that you guys know, but the youngest one tied strings around all of her Barbie dolls and taped them to my ceiling. So when I came into my room, there was Barbie dolls, naked Barbie dolls hanging from my ceiling all over my room.
Oh no. No.
How did she secure them up there?
I guess her and her friend got on a chair and taped them with the string, with the yarn.
Oh my
That's
goodness.
creepy. I'm with you,
I
Andrea.
think it's my sister's creepy. And then Kristen, this is another one. Kristen scared the dog yesterday by wearing a clown mask. He screamed.
Oh no.
And that's my ghost stories.
Thank you so much for sharing.
Okay, I have a question for everyone. What scares you more, a clown or a doll? I heard this on the radio the other day, and my daughter was with me, and she goes, that's a tough choice. It all depends on what the doll looks like.
That's really is a hard choice. Like I just don't know, because clowns are like scary. I don't like clowns at all, but dolls are also really freaky. Like I wouldn't be able to choose.
Like maybe Barbie dolls are not scary, but like those porcelain with the, lively eyes, like a real, like looking real eyes. And I was never scared of clowns until the It movie came out, which the new one. But even then, I'm still more scared of the dolls.
Well, I'm not scared of dolls or clowns, but I am scared of Bigfoot, Sasquatch. I just don't want to run into it at any time in life. No, you know what I mean? I'm cool with that. That's why I don't go in the woods nowhere. Just don't want to deal with Sasquatch, Bigfoot, whatever you got going on. I'm cool with that. I'd rather run into a serial killer than Bigfoot. You know what I mean?
Gotcha.
Have you seen the actual Annabelle doll? It's actually a rag doll, and it's not even creepy.
It's Raggedy Ann.
And it's haunted. And
I know, right?
that's what I actually
Yeah.
that's what I actually base my my scare level on dolls.
Did you see the special that they had on Travel Channel just last week or the week before about the original people who started the ghost hunting? And they actually had performed seances, and they actually had this museum in the bottom of their house. And I think she just passed away last year or the year before. She was in her 90s, the lady. And they have the actual Annabelle doll down there.
Yeah, they have
that
the
room blessed once a week by a priest.
You're talking about the Warrens. They're the ones that investigate the exorcism.
Yes.
And the Conjuring, all that stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's not in the basement. I think they have like an actual house for them, a museum that looks like a house. It's
I don't
creepy.
want to
Also, do you know that there's a channel on YouTube? It's titled Haunted Southern Maryland. I just found it out, and I think it's more in the Southern Maryland part. So they have like episodes. Wow. I think they have like 4 episodes with 30-minute videos. So I am actually interested on watching that if you want to look it up later or tomorrow.
Caitlin Colbert, I cannot with you.
Caitlin, you're back. And no, I don't want to see any of those videos until the sun is back out.
Yes.
No.
So we actually have a chat comment from Madeline. She said, actually last year during the American Idol finale, a bat came into our living room, which was scary. But the same thing happened this year during the Idol finale again, which was weird. That is definitely weird. And that would definitely make me question her question, maybe our house is haunted. And Shawnee put in a comment that says, my dad is a huge skeptic, but he is from Johnstown, PA. He said that if any place is haunted, it's definitely Johnstown, PA. I have never been, but I'm sure it's pretty creepy. Okay, so Shawnee also said Johnstown has a history of deadly floods, and now this city is practically a ghost town.
Really?
Yeah, that is very creepy.
You know, on those shows, those shows called The Hauntings and stuff like that.
Oh my God. I'm sorry. Thanks a lot, Caitlin.
Caitlin, my children were enjoying the beautiful fire when the clown popped into the picture. So thank you for that bedtime joy.
Straight evil she is.
Which was Kristen.
Those shows, those shows called The Hauntings and stuff like that. You know, a lot of those hauntings take place here in Maryland, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and Delaware. You'd be surprised, like a lot of those.
Yeah, I would be surprised because I don't watch them.
Preach, Michelle. Preach.
A lot in New England discipline too. And you think about this part of the country where so many things happen,
Right.
so early on in the history of it.
You're absolutely right, Deborah. I will say I've traveled to Salem multiple times, Salem, Massachusetts, and every time I go, there's always just a feeling. I can't explain it. It's just really weird, and it doesn't matter if it's daytime or nighttime, but there's just something's in the air. And I will say, walking down a street in Salem at night and no one else is around is quite terrifying.
I guess my question to you, Melissa, would be why alone?
Oh no, I had my husband with me, but it was still, even with him, it was terrifying.
Yeah, so I remember Kim said something about whispering her name or something, whispering her name or yelling her name. It happened to me once. That was in the same house that I was talking about earlier. And it was after a year of my grandfather passed away. And I was just done with the bathroom, so my sister was next. So I went out. I went in the hallway where my cousin was playing really loud music. So I was just standing there in the middle of the hallway, and suddenly I heard a whisper in my ear. I even felt the air in my ear, and that actually called my name, which is my grandfather's nickname to me. And I flipped out. I took my cousin out of the house and left my sister in the bathroom. And I was like, let's go out. And my sister was in the bathroom. And we went to my other cousin's house because we're just walking distance. So we just ran over there. And then next thing I knew, my sister was knocking on the door saying that, crying and telling me that she heard something whisper in her ear when she came out of the bathroom and stood at the hallway wondering where was I and my cousin, and something just whispered at her ear and called her name as well. And that was something I will never forget, because it's just not me. It's like I cannot say that it's just my head. It was my sister there too, to that witness that and experience it, and I'm like, okay, I will never forget that.
Wow, Ray, that's terrifying. And the fact that your sister was there with you.
Yes, and that house, that's where the most paranormal experience I had, and my siblings too.
Wow. Caitlin's trying to scare us again. And it worked. Thank you, Caitlin. All right, well, we have one more comment in the chat from Madeline. And she said, ever since the bat incident, whenever I'm alone at my house or by myself for the weekend, I'm wary that bats will come into the house again. I would definitely feel the same way. If that happened twice, pretty much at the exact same time with the American Idol show, I would be terrified whenever the American Idol show came on. The finale, at least. All right, does anyone have any final stories, experiences, anything before we wrap up for the evening?
I'm afraid I don't. I have not experienced anything like that, and I'm so happy.
I understand, Abigail, completely. All right. Well, I would like to thank you for joining us this evening. We hope that you enjoyed tonight's program. Student Life has a variety of events and programs for our CSM students. And to register for other events and for a full list of our fall activities, visit the Student Life page on the CSM website. and we hope to see you at another Student Life event. Stay well and have a happy Halloween.